Hi there. Welcome back to the Lighthouse Sessions. Today I have my friend Kurt with me. Kurt, first of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then I want to hear about the community you're building.
Yeah. So my wife and I, my wife Kristen and I started a marketing firm. Yeah, there she is. Beautiful.
There's Kristen.
Yeah. We started a marketing firm back in 2006. So we're 19 years old in a little less than a month as a company. And our original mission and vision was we were going to elect the best politicians to Congress and state legislatures. And when the right people got elected, the sun would come out, the Red Sea would part, and everything would be okay. And we've been doing that for 19 years. We've worked for a lot of really neat people. We've helped elect over 103 members of Congress, 15 governors, 15 senators. We also helped elect President Trump in 2016. And then sometime a few years ago, we started to recognize just how powerful it was, these entrepreneurs who were building things and solving problems and making innovations. And many of them were changing the world faster and better than our politicians. We thought we really have to get into this entrepreneurial space, not just help market politicians, but let's help business owners. And so a couple of years ago, we started talking about this and went through a couple of iterations. There's a lot of marketing firms out there. Everybody knows, a bunch of them, and they all say they're the best.
Yeah.
Too, by the way. And so what makes us unique? What are we better at than anyone else? And what we figured was a lot of what we did for these Republican political candidates was raise money. We do the crowdfunding piece. We don't call the big donors. We email, text, run social ads, other things to find the $25 donor or the $50 donor. And we had raised at least $500 million in our time doing this, from 13 million plus transactions, several million different individuals and donors. And we recognized we had gotten awfully good at talking to this subset of human beings and getting them to do things, specifically make a donation. And we know these same people buy cars and coffee and homes and anything you could imagine.
Yeah.
And we're particularly good at talking to them. And we know they're increasingly interested in doing business with brands that match their values, which is a trend. No matter where you stand ideologically, 82% of Americans say they're now considering the values of a company right up there with features and benefits.
Yeah.
75% of them say they've switched a brand in the last year over some kind of ideological thing. We were talking about this earlier, Jeff, with the Chick-fil-A in your neighborhood. I like to picture my people, who I know well. We call them Liberty spenders, by the way. Jeff was.
Yeah.
That they are the kinds of people who are going to drive 20 minutes past a Popeye's chicken or other chicken place to get to Chick-fil-A because they believe in the values and the mission of Chick-fil-A. And therefore, they're willing to endure some inconvenience, maybe even pay more to do business with them.
Well, and wait in traffic even.
Right. And so we began as a mission to find businesses who really wanted to market to these conservative and often Christian political donor types, and help them build their businesses around that. And then we wanted to understand how marginal is this opportunity. We know that there are big brands like Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A are really well liked by our audience. And we know there's other smaller businesses starting to grow, like Black Rifle Coffee and Patriot Mobile and 7 Weeks Coffee and Every Life Diapers. But how big is this? Is this a couple million people enough to, build a nice little niche opportunity, or is it giant? So we did a big nationwide survey, found 76.5 million Christian or conservative consumers who are significantly more likely to buy from a brand if they associate it with their Christian or conservative values. And that's the audience we call Liberty spenders. They spend $5 trillion a year on various products and services. And that's, now that we're doing businesses, not just politicians, we try to find Christian or conservative entrepreneurs who are willing to talk about their values and convictions and help connect them with liberty spenders and grow their business.
Well, and I love, so I was reading in the book about conviction-driven marketing, and you're not just nudging someone because, you save 5 cents, and you're not looking for, and I think you talked about owning versus renting them.
Yes.
These are people who are diving in heart and soul. It's a movement, not a purchase.
Yeah, I think in today's environment, where competition is so hard, and you make a cool product, you put it on Amazon, 2 months later, it's being copied by somebody from China or by Amazon itself. You've got to connect with customers on something more than just, well, I'm 5% cheaper or I'm 20% better product. You've got to build something much deeper than that. And there's nothing more powerful and more long lasting than people's religious and political convictions. They stick to them through thick and thin, mostly. They don't change frequently. And
sorry, I got to interrupt, Kurt, because I found it fascinating. I'm Canadian. We're not that political here, but I was reading that people in the U.S., you said something to the effect, more likely to change religion than politics. And I was like, oh my God, that is permanent, right?
Yeah,
it's generational.
And almost all of us share the politics of our childhood.
Yeah.
Now, there are some generational issues. It's not infrequent for parents, for children of Xers, which lean a certain way, to then kind of the millennials rebelled and went a little more, Xers were more conservative, millennials are more left wing, and then the children of the millennials went more conservative. And so there's some generational moves that happen, but people stick to that. And when you can connect with people on that level, they are willing to stick with you through thick and thin. That's why we talk about renting versus owning. And it becomes less transactional and more loyalty based, more mission based. And there's, by the way, a lot of ways to do it. I think one of the immediate objections I get is, well, I don't want to be endorsing political candidates for my business, or I don't want to end up like, if you're familiar, I don't end up like Mike Lindell, where I'm like super tied. But there are ways to execute on conviction-driven marketing that are authentic and aligned with you, that will also achieve a similar outcome. Like Black Rifle Coffee Company is a good example of that. They're very pro-veteran. There's nothing controversial about being pro-veteran. Both sides want our veterans to succeed in life and to get the health care they deserve and overcome their challenges. But they also are, they're all also veterans themselves, and a lot of their ads feature people shooting machine guns, which leans a little right. If you're somebody in San Francisco and you've never seen a gun or touched a gun in your life, maybe Black Rifle Coffee seems a little too much. So they're able to connect with a liberty spender audience without taking a bunch of controversial views. And also Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A are a good contrast too. Both of them are very faith-driven. Hobby Lobby will put Jesus in their ads though, right? On Christmas and Easter, it's he is risen, or their child is born. That's very out front about their faith. Chick-fil-A, their ads are 2 cows saying eat more chicken, right? They're not, it doesn't say, there's no Jesus in the ads. When you go to the door on Sunday and it'll say it's closed, it doesn't say they're closed for the Sabbath. It says they're closed to give their employees rest. Yeah. So they're not putting it in their convictions in their marketing. Now people sort of get the joke over time because the Cathy families talked about their faith and they donate to Christian charities. Yeah. But it's a very different approach. Both approaches, by the way, have done really well. I mean, Chick-fil-A is well into like the $35-40 billion range. Yeah. I think last I checked with Hobby Lobby, $7.5-8 billion a year. Those are not small enterprises. Yeah. So you can make it authentic to who you are.
Well, if I may, Kurt, one of the things I'm observing is if the founders lean a certain way, if a founder has certain beliefs and you lead with that, you're going to get more loyal. Like the Chick-fil-A franchisees I've met are fanatics. They are part and parcel. They belong in the Cathy family. You're getting more loyalty from your staff, which means you're going to get more loyalty from your customers. It's just a cycle that continues.
Yeah, it's integrated through and through, and I agree. It's a very powerful strategy. Chick-fil-A does it better than anyone. They don't look at owning Chick-fil-A's as something that a business owner does and then sits back and collects the checks. You can really only own one or two. And I'm going to murder his words, but I've heard Dan Cathy joke that it's easier to get hired by the CIA than to become a Chick-fil-A franchisee. Something like 10,000 people apply, some gigantic number, and they only pick a couple dozen.
Yeah.
They're very selective, and they like people who are owner operators. So they don't allow them. I think some are allowed to own 2 Chick-fil-A's.
Yeah.
You can't own 20 Chick-fil-A's because they want you there and making sure the experience is great. So they've got it really, they've taken the values they believe in and they've really integrated it into not just the way they talk about themselves, but how they run the business. Hobby Lobby, I think, very much the same. Their managers love the Sunday off. As you go work for Michael's next door, which is a similar store, you're working 10 hours on Sunday too, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's exhausting for a store manager. And to have a day.
Yeah. Well, especially if you have kids.
Yeah, absolutely. So and those are great benefits, whether you're off on Sunday for the Sabbath or not. Humans need that kind of rest.
Well, it's funny. In our household, we don't work on Sundays. We take Sundays off. And we've even gone so far as tech-free Sundays. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing. I've had a few clients who push the boundary and it's like, nope, that's not an optional negotiable. And it really sets who I want to work with.
Yeah. Well, it's probably something I should implement more. My justification is I love my work, you know? And so I often don't see it as work. If you're going to ask me, well, you got a few hours a day, what would you do for fun? I might come downstairs in my office and do some work,
Guilty.
It's very integrated, which I think, by the way, is great life advice for people. I think there's a lot of folks who say work-life balance, it's just better if it's integrated than, well, I'm going to put this in a little box over here and I hate it,
Oh God, it's Monday. Life's too short to dread Mondays. So full disclosure, we implemented it because I'm one of those 24/7 guys, and it was like, I'm going to burn out, and I'm missing my kids growing up. They're both teenagers now, and it's like, okay, well, I still got enough sway. I can convince them to hang out with me for the day. Let's enjoy that family time. And honestly, I think a lot of people choose work over family out of necessity, no judgment, but then they lose that connection.
Yeah. Well, and it's sort of like health. You do your steps one day and you stay away from sugar and you eat some good stuff. And the next day you look the same.
Yeah.
And you got to put 100 days together before you say, hey, my belt's, I need to get a better belt, smaller belt. It's the same with our kids. It's been a thing for me. I've tried to be aware of. My kids are 3 and 5, and there's just no person they want more in their life than their parents.
Yeah.
They like their grandparents, but they like their babysitters, but if their babysitters never came back, they would be unfazed.
Yeah.
But they want to be with us. And this is an important time in their formulation, that first 7-8 years in their life when we can have so much impact. And so it's easy to think, well, I'm going to skip a few days. I got this work trip, but they start adding up, right? Yeah. And you lose those opportunities. And if both my wife and I go, then the person that's influencing them might be a nice person, but it's not us, right? Yeah. So we're, it's to your point, we have to kind of create those guardrails, or we wake up 20 years later with the consequences of, 1,500 small decisions that accumulate to a disastrous result because we didn't see it. And I need to learn that better with my weight. But with my kids, I've tried to be more aware of it.
Yeah. It's kind of like that dripping faucet in the basement. It's like you don't notice. It's like, oh, I'll wipe it up later. And then it's like, oh, it got into the foundation. Now let's pivot slightly. And you are going to be back on the show. I can guarantee it because my audience is going to love you. You're building a group program, a mastermind. And before I ask you about it, I want to share my bias. I personally believe, you alluded to it, but I'm going to state it. I believe that entrepreneurs are the greatest force for good on the planet. I also believe that masterminds done right are the greatest leverage point for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So if you and I are going to talk masterminds, I'm your friend. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, we still do traditional agency work. Any business would come to us, say, we need help with marketing. Can we hire you? And we'll bring our 30 staff to bear. Right. But it wasn't really achieving the outcome that my wife and I were looking for, because that kind of work is expensive. So it's a limited potential clientele. And I really felt like there's a power in getting entrepreneurs together, particularly like-minded ones, and talking about how can we prosper as a team, which isn't really thought of, I think, in the business. We own a business. We think anybody else who owns a business is either immaterial to us or their competitor.
Yeah, it's two dog eat dog, and we miss the obvious, right?
Yeah, and I have a customer right now. I have a guy who's invented some really awesome privacy-centric technology. And I have another person who's not a customer who has also invented something as well. Now, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to encourage them both to do, and I think we take not enough advantage of in business, is how can we sell each other's products to our each other's audiences? Because that is a free way to grow your business. You've got 10,000 loyal customers. He's got 10,000 loyal customers. If we can each convert 2,000 of those people to each other's offer, you can get paid for it. And it's cost you nothing to do. It's super aligned. And or you have a solution that helps me exponentially grow. So we're working with these Liberty business, we call it the Liberty Business Alliance, these Liberty aligned businesses, getting them together. We're then taking all the tools that we talk about in our book, we're teaching it in a group setting. But I think the even more powerful part of it is we're getting people together and we're making business changing introductions and deals to help these folks really grow exponentially. And we're in the early stages of it, but I hope to have a fairly substantial group, because I think there's power in numbers. You can't have too big a group because then it just seems overwhelming. You don't really know who's who, but 100 people, 200 people in a room and maybe divided up in industry or something really can make a big difference. So we'd love to, anybody who's listening to this and is like, hey, I'd like to learn more about how to market to Liberty spenders, or I want to learn more about how to grow something in this area, we'd be happy to help.
I love it. And I don't know if you've observed this yet, but I've run probably 100 or so mastermind groups. And the number one thing, and you're going to find this, and it's going to be a moment you're going to cry, I promise. When you look around the room and everybody realizes they're not alone. That is, whenever I see that moment, I know the group is gelled, because they all come in with, we're entrepreneurs, we're tough, we got our masks on, we're ready for whatever battle's coming. And when the mask comes down and everybody goes, oh my God, I'm not alone, that is a powerful group.
Yeah.
And I had that with a group of veterans once, and it was funny because they're all big, tough guys, and they're all talking about their service. And I'm not kidding. The moment they all realized they weren't alone, they were all crying, and I'm like, I'm not crying, you're crying. But it's that's the heart of being an entrepreneur. And I think when you're bringing together people with the conservative and religious views, you're going to instant gel. And I think that's the thing. the devil wants us to believe we're alone. I mean, that's literally, I say that all the time, that we think we're alone and then we suffer in silence.
Yeah.
And, just the power of a group and, you talk about it improving businesses. I've seen it improving lives. You get lifelong friendships. You get, I've seen best man at wedding type scenarios, and, it impacts, I love ripples. And when you impact, if you have a group of 100, each of those people impact 100 people around them, that ripple grows pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the end, that's our ultimate goal. One lesson that I'm still learning and hoping to impart to others is what really matters in life is generally not the things that the world tells us matter. It's not that extra, 7 figures on the bottom line. It's not the cool toys, the great vacations. There's something powerful only in the relationship we have with our Creator.
Yeah.
And it's a hard lesson to learn. I'm a achiever, I'm a type A guy, and I want to be successful. And at some point I realized it was like an appetite that never was satiated. The moment you make your first, I remember thinking, one day I'll be a millionaire and I'll be super happy. And then you make your first million and you're jealous of the guy who makes 10 million.
Yeah.
And then you start making decisions based on that because you want to be in those groups. You want to be perceived in that way. And I've had to learn the hard way that those aren't decisions often made with the right kind of criteria.
Yeah.
You get yourself in trouble. And it's taken some time for me to really put Jesus first. And I'm still learning it, right? I mean, I think to some extent our earthly lives are all about killing off the idols in our lives. It's because there's so many of them you don't know, right? It could be money and success, could be just being liked by people. But anything that we allow ourselves to make more important, it could be convenience and more important than our faith. And so I'm hoping at some point in here to really get into some of those topics, because in the end, that's what we really are struggling with.
Yeah.
We're all trying to be worthy. We all want to have an identity somewhere. And we the world is telling us, and our own flesh is telling us this is where it should be. And you ultimately find there's just no joy there,
Yeah.
And some of these things are good. I'm not saying it's bad to make money, and but we can easily put it in front of God. We can make it more important. We can compromise truth and integrity and honesty, even if it's it's only a little.
Nobody will notice. Tiny. Yeah.
And so I, it's something I hope that we'll do even as a group, because in the end, we're all there. We want to make our businesses better.
Yeah.
But it's our hearts that really have the challenge.
Yeah.
And, I'm speaking as someone in the middle of it. Anyone who claims that they have it figured out already is,
they're running a cult. Run away.
Yeah, they're lying, or they're, or they're delusional, to your point.
Yeah. Now, Kurt, I could talk to you all day. I want to be really mindful of your time. You and I are going to have a sequel. I can guarantee it. Where can people go to connect with you? Where can they buy the book? Because I love your spin on things, and you've got a really unique angle.
Yeah. Well, you can get it for free at libertyspenders.com/free. You could also go to Amazon. It is there. It's also available on Audible for anybody who wants to listen to it, or anybody who just wants to send me $9 because they bought it. But you can get it for free on our site. You just have to give us an email so I can spam you with my propaganda. But he
doesn't spam, I promise.
Only people who ask,
and he replies if you reply to him. So
yeah, and you can also we can also book a call on that same site there. So if you want to get deeper, we can absolutely do it.
I love it. Well, I'm going to promote this. I've got a few friends that I think you need to meet, and I love the simplicity. By the way, just got to say, I have mad respect. The Venn diagram is my favorite, and of course, there's one in the book. So
I know that's in every one of my presentations.
I don't know what it says that I have a favorite diagram, but I love Venn diagrams. So
yes, well, I'm glad you do, and for those who like a few charts and lists, we have them.
Love it. Well, Kurt, thank you so much for hanging out with me. And I can't wait. We'll have you back and we'll talk about the progress with your Liberty Alliance, because I have a feeling you're going to go grassroots wildfire here. So,
well, I hope so. Thank you, Jeff.